Welcome to the program on this Monday morning, December 23rd, just 2 days before Christmas. I know we're all looking forward to Christmas, family, friends, loved ones, opening gifts, drinking, eating, all that fun stuff. Thanks for joining us on Facebook Live. If you're listening, we appreciate it. Hope you guys all had a great weekend. I certainly did. Packers versus Saints tonight to end week 15. Broncos over the Chargers on Thursday Night Football. Chiefs over Texans. Ravens over the Steelers. College football game were pretty good for the most part. You could say so. So SMU got shellacked a little bit. I was watching that a little bit on Saturday there. But Penn State over SMU. Texas over Clemson. The Ohio State over Tennessee. And Notre Dame over Indiana. What another NFL Sunday we just witnessed. It's the gift that keeps on giving. Galen, welcome back to the program. How was your weekend?
It was pretty good. Thank you very much. It's always a pleasure. Feels good. Each and every show that we do. How's things over there?
Things are good. Snow is just about gone, just about melted. I know you're 70 degrees in Zona. And laughing at our East Coast people here, even though you defected out west, but it's okay. It's okay.
I'm not gonna lie. It's hard for me to imagine, even though I've been there like virtually my whole life. You get a taste of this for a couple months, 2.5 months, however long it's been, and it's just like you got all of you texting me like, oh, 20s, 30s, in the teens, and it's just like, how quick am I? Not to brag or boast or anything like that, but yeah, it's kind of hard to even fathom getting a taste of zonal weather, the consistency. I can't picture just being in such cold, frigid weather currently, like you guys are all experiencing.
In
So
the
I'm
teens,
sorry.
in the
I
teens.
apologize. I apologize. Not trying to be a snob or anything, but this is the new norm.
The Dallas Cowboys have been eliminated, Galen, from the NFL playoffs, marking 29 years, consecutive years. Jerry Jones' team has failed to reach or played in a championship game. 49ers also eliminated, Jets eliminated, and also the Cowboys. By the way, these three teams, Galen, they had the most primetime games, 6, by the way, and now are all gone fishing. Out of those three teams, who do you think had the biggest letdown of a season this year, coming into this year? The Jets, the Niners, the Cowboys. And are you surprised the Cowboys are eliminated, gone fishing once again this early?
Yes and no. I am surprised because as a Cowboys fan, um, even though my hat says otherwise, but yeah, they're my other team. Um, yeah, I mean, I always like to think it's a little changing of the course, recent memory. I don't know. Coming out the draft, coming out the off season. And fresh slate. Start of a new season, training camp, preseason, all that jazz. Everybody, rightfully so, should feel good about their stance in the league. Just getting after it, changing recent course history and stuff, coming up short, not making the playoffs, not being anywhere even close to title contention. Hence the Cowboys in particular of the last 20 plus years. But you look at what they continue to put on the field. You look at even the quarterback position. Dak, he might be not top five definitively anyway, but I feel like in this league he's certainly inside the top 10, probably top 7 or 8 at the quarterback position. They seem to have enough pieces on both sides of the ball. I know the NFC is a bit tough and a little bit more stiffer than probably what the AFC has shown and been in recent the recent past. But I mean, with guys like Dak and I know there was a little bit of drop at the running back position that led to them, thinking and talk about maybe having to upgrade that position at some point. But you got, a pretty good receiving core led by arguably the best in the league and CeeDee Lamb. You obviously got some players on the defensive side of the ball, led by Micah Parsons, and I'm sure we'll get into him in just a little bit. So I mean, you look at them, for example, as opposed to my other team, the Patriots. I mean, they got a lot more talent, and more than enough on both sides of the ball to at least be competitive and make it interesting, especially there in the NFC East, because yeah, I mean, Washington hasn't been what they ended up being this year. So you like to give the edge to the Cowboys there. I mean, Philly, they certainly taken off and was pretty good before the signing of one Saquon Barkley. So I mean, and then of course the Giants are the Giants. I mean, you're definitely better than the Giants, but then when you get this late in the season and now we're on the verge of the playoffs, and it's just like, wow, like no, just another failed year. They fell well short of expectation, and now you're gonna go into the off season that much sooner before anyone would have liked to have seen or hoped for them. For those that are a fan of the team, and now you're left scratching your head, just like, okay, now what? And with that, I feel like we're just waiting for Jerry Jones, right? Probably to lay down the hammer and once again just try and reverse what's been the recent sort of disappointment for this franchise. Whether that's it being at the parting of ways between him and McCarthy and bringing someone else in. Certainly, that guy's not going to be Bill Belichick now. But I don't know. There will be options, and if this team's not responding, if he's not able to rally this team and at least get them into the playoffs, I mean, no one's expecting you to go out and win a Super Bowl. But can we at least get there? They seem to, like I said, have enough pieces. If there's that one owner that I feel like is not going to sleep until he gets a taste once again of playoffs, it's going to be Jerry, and it should be interesting. I know all the reports saying, "Oh, yeah, it seems like McCarthy's okay and safe." But I'll believe it when I see it, because you could just never rule out Jerry Jones. But it's definitely been a disappointment. However, my biggest disappointment of those three mentions, though, it's got to be the 49ers, especially because they've been challenging for the Super Bowl the last couple of years,
Yep.
and even more of a talented and well-known roster. I mean, that I don't think anyone's seen coming, including myself.
Yeah.
I actually like their chances to get back to the Super Bowl, and here they are, not even going to the playoffs. Huge
Yeah.
letdown.
Niners for sure. I was going to say Niners for sure because way too many injuries. They've been in the Super Bowl recently, and just they couldn't overcome those injuries from McCaffrey being out, Debo being out, wide receiver issues, Kittle, Purdy. I mean, by the way, do you see what Purdy did? He gave his offensive lineman a whole bunch of trucks. I mean, the guy was only making what, 900,000. He's expecting a big boy salary in the offseason. It seems like maybe I heard like 290 million, possibly. So what do you make of Purdy there, being a little nice guy, Santa Claus there? Brock Purdy, you see him getting a big boy contract next season.
I mean, I actually do, yeah. And it's crazy because when he first took over, I mean, I feel like he was the ultimate like short term answer, It's just like, all right, just keep us afloat. Um, don't look to do too much.
Game
Just
manager.
be that game day manager, and obviously they're gonna break him in slowly. But if you remember, I mean, it really didn't take him that long, and he proved that he was up for the goods and to be deemed worthy of to be more than of a bona fide replacement. And I feel like with everything that they continue to throw on him more and more steadily, I mean, now look at him now, a couple years later. And again, he's not elite. He won't ever be elite, but he's probably, just looking from afar, I would have to say certainly one of the better quarterbacks. And same thing there. You can even make a case for him being maybe just outside the top 10, with certainly some top 10 weeks sprinkled in an NFL season. But yeah, he's certainly the least of the problems down there in the Bay Area. It seems like they have their guy with him emerging right there in house, which is awesome because now they can just continue to put pieces around him and just fill in the gaps where obviously it caused them to come up short as a franchise this year, which again we both said it was a huge disappointment. But you take care of him. 290 million, I guess you were saying. I mean, yeah, that's a lot of money, but at the same time, that's a going rate now for a
Quarterback.
for a starting really good quarterback in franchise esque in this league. So they know it's it's a bill that is appropriate. But as long as they agree, which by all accounts, I mean, why wouldn't they? I mean, he's like I said, the least of the problems, and yeah, I'm pretty excited for him because I feel like looking back when he first took over, it's just like, who is this guy? Like, he's definitely a short term,
Short-term
solution.
band-aid or solution.
You,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
there's no way they could have like by default fallen, like had him fall right into their lap, and now all of a sudden you're going to be looking at the next franchise guy. Well, like I said, I was wrong, and goods to him. I mean, he proved to keep this team more than afloat, and like I said, when getting into the playoffs, he was able to at least get them to a Super Bowl. And that's all you can ask. So now it's
Yeah.
just probably more to do with them coming back healthy, staying healthy, and continue to make the upgrades necessary around him.
Cowboys to me are disappointment as well because they run their mouths a lot, they chirp a lot, they talk a lot. Michael Parsons talks a lot, and it's just like seems like this team is cursed 29 plus seasons now. I think Jerry just does way too much. He's got to stand back and get a general manager, get somebody else in there. Just you be the owner. Let the general manager do his thing. You just take a step back. He just does too much. He's meddling in the business and he's everywhere. He's like basically the team guy does press conferences weekly and weekly radio. He's just has his hands in a cookie jar way too much, and I think this is what the Cowboys is going to be a recurring thing every single year with them until Jerry Jones just takes a step back. Possibly get a new head coach in the offseason, like you said. Maybe get another piece or two around Dak. Dak comes back healthy, and another running back, another wide receiver to complement CeeDee Lamb, and take it from there. But I think Jerry Jones just does way, way too much, and it just comes back to bite him every season. He wants to know why he's getting the same results every single year. I mean, if you do the same thing every single season, you're not going to get different results. So he has to do something differently, I think, moving forward to make this team successful once again, like it was back in the '90s with Troy, Irvin, Emmett, and those guys. I just don't see anything changing in Dallas. I really don't until Jerry Jones, like I said, just takes a step back.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely agree. But the problem with that is I'd like to
He
think
won't.
that
He won't.
that would be possible, but that takes humbling first and foremost.
I mean,
And
29 years. If you would think you would be humbled by now, right?
yeah, I mean, it should have happened long before now. So that's unfortunately the biggest Achilles heel when it comes to that particular franchise is and not to say that he doesn't know what he's doing or whatever, but like you said, you
Correct.
touched on it just seconds ago. It's certainly a lot more meddling that's going on than anything. And I know in my whole heart that he wants the best for this franchise, and he wants to get back to the promised land sooner rather than later. I mean, shoot, who doesn't, you know? But the fact of the matter is that's gonna end up needing to come at a cost. You know, that slice of humble pie, um, in all that. He's gotta, one of these years, if not even long ago, well before now, take a step back and look to, start to allocate a little bit. And I just feel like at this point, I mean, like they always say, a zebra doesn't, lose their stripes, right? Same thing with Jerry. If he hasn't changed now, if he hasn't been willing to change and just kind of give up, obviously all the crazy amounts of power and the say
Yeah,
and the signing off and stuff like that
he'd
that
never
he's
change.
had, then that's probably what it's gonna end up needing to happen and take at this point. And I just, unfortunately, he is a great owner. Certainly a lot of respect, goes out to everything that he's poured into this franchise, and obviously was able to accomplish all the way back in the 90s when, by some people that they were last relevant, legitimately, as a team. But at this point, he's not going to want to step down from that perch and just kind of like hand over the keys, or at least not maybe entirely, but enough to probably get them to where they would like to get to and where they're trying to get to. He's just got way too much on his plate, like you were saying.
Way too much, Jerry. Take a step back, Jerry. Listen to me and Galen. What do we know, right? I mean, 29 years and counting. What do we know? What do the fans know, right, Jerry? It's just humble pie, humble pie. You can't do the same thing for so many years and expect a different result every single season. It's just borderline lunacy at this point. One bright spot in the Cowboys, your Cowboys, Galen. Cowboys Micah Parsons, sixth player in NFL history with 50 plus sacks in his first 4 seasons. Parsons joins Hall of Famers Reggie White, DeMarcus Ware, Dwight Freeney, Derek Thomas, and J.J. Watt. Michael Parsons, Galen, he's on pace for being a all-time great and potentially, if he continues this way, a future Hall of Famer. Your thoughts on Michael Parsons? He talks too much, in my opinion. He does a radio podcast every week, but he talks too much. Us Philly fans aren't a fan of Michael Parsons.
Yeah, but how quickly that stance would change if you happen to don the green and white colors. So that's nothing short of obviously rival sort of jealousy and hateration and all that stuff. So that's a topic for another day. But yeah, like you were saying, Michael Parsons, he probably again too has a little bit too much of an opinionated voice, always in some sort of limelight, especially with his podcasts and everything. Good, bad, or indifferent, always feeling the need to give his 2 cents, which is definitely gonna more often than not end up rubbing people the wrong way. But then again, winning cures everything. So it probably wouldn't be that much and that serious had they had the opposite of a season and did that much more winning and was on their way to at least securing a wild card berth and was able to get back to the playoffs. But when you're not winning, you're coming up short more often than not. You're obviously suffering, from injuries across the roster. Most notably Dak Prescott, which was a huge blow to the offense. And even when he was healthy, I mean, let's face it, he was having a down season by his standards anyway. I just feel like people are going to be quick to criticize you and just kind of fall on deaf ears and just be like, yeah, okay, like shut your mouth and, put your nose to the ground and go out there and make plays, help your team win some games. Cause that's where people's sort of disdain and really kind of just lack of respect, especially regarding a guy that, like you said, just accomplished one hell of a feat. This past Sunday, yesterday. I mean that's phenomenal. I mean that's uncharted territory. Where just a few, only a few has accomplished. And you look at that list that you just rattled off. I mean, nothing short of greatness. I mean,
Yeah.
surefire first ballot Hall of Famers, and certainly you know all the vocalness and the opinionated takes and the podcasts, to all those off the field type distractions. Yeah, I mean, we could probably do without that. But when he's focused, when he's dialed in, when he's healthy, there's no doubt about it. He's some of the game's best, both now and certainly moving forward. And he's definitely following along and climbing that, really crazy trajectories, that we saw with other greats at his same position slash edge rushers, long before him. So if he can stay the course, keep his head on straight, stay healthy, there's no doubt about it. He's gonna find himself in Canton, one of these years. But I feel like, again, as a Cowboys fan, I'm not really in it for individual accolades and stuff like that. I like to have see that give off a more positive and more balanced sort of team, um, well-rounded beneficiary. So what I mean by that is just like, yep, you get your sacks and everything. You're a game changer, but we need to see that come in winning moments, and have it come where the team needs it at most, whether it's a pick me up or you're dealing with injuries, you know, what have you. I mean, he needs to have it start to play out in more positive outcomes. And unfortunately, right now, yeah, he's got the accolades, he's got the numbers, the sacks, and all that stuff, but it's not really coming in meaningful moments. And I feel like if we're able to start changing this whole recent course of coming up short, not going to the playoffs and stuff like that, and maybe next year's a year. I don't know, another hopeful year.
There's
We keep
always
on
next year.
like we said the same thing just last week about Josh Allen. Like, all right, go out and prove it. Well, the same thing to a lesser extent with even Micah Parsons. The numbers that they're only gonna go so far and count so much, but I would rather it be more team, um, just being
Wins and
rubbed off.
losses. Yeah.
Yeah, it has to rub off on everyone else, and it should be more equally sort of spread throughout. I mean, that's if you look at like some of the teams that won for a lot of years, the Patriots to KC, recently and stuff like that. Yeah, there's the Patrick Mahomes, there's the Tom Brady effect, but then it was just so like catchy, you know what I mean? Like it just rubbed off on everyone. I feel like they all um played for each other and all kind of played a big enough role that helped them get to the top of the mountain. I feel like when it comes to Dallas and stuff like that, I mean, even guys like CeeDee Lamb, yeah, like just last year he was the greatest receiver in the world, catching all those passes, all those yards, touchdowns, and everything. Dak has had his moments, but for whatever reason, it doesn't seem to be as well spread throughout and team oriented, where they're working for each other and they're fighting for each other. I feel like it often, and way too often at that, feels like it's more individually driven. Like, oh, well, like I'm gonna go out and get my numbers today, because like you said, you got things that you see right in front of you that you're chasing, whatever, as opposed to maybe taking a step back or whatever, swallowing your pride, nomadic, no matter how good you know that you are and you strive to be, like, hey, there's bigger goals that, we all set as a team, or they should be setting out as a team, which I'm sure they do. And I'm gonna do my part, in trying to help us get there. Not just like, well, another lost season, but let's keep on piling away the stats. I feel like there's too much of that sort of mentality. And again, that could be another big factor on why we continue to see Dallas in very familiar territory year in and year out.
Speaking of disappointments, I mean, we talked about this the last show. Miami Dolphins head coach and Tua and injuries and just playing underwhelming football. The Cheetah had 3 drops. By the way, coming into this year, you think Miami versus San Fran this time of the year, playoff teams potentially, not so much. I mean, the Cheetah had 3 drops yesterday versus San Fran, Galen, and he says he needs more practice. If you need more practice at week 15, that's a culture issue. That's a coaching issue, player issue as well. Off season, you see the Cheetah being traded to which team? I mean, let's get a drum roll here for the Cheetah, by the way. Let's get a drum roll for the Cheetah. Tyreek Hill gets traded in the offseason, or he comes back and runs it back with Miami once again?
Yeah, I mean, I would probably have to lean towards him coming back to Miami and running it back. Because you have to look at, the context and everything in which it's coming from, the timing, all that stuff. And when I just take a step back and it's just like, well, why now? If anything, I sense and I'm sifting right through a lot of that sort of smoke and potential fire.
It is Miami, yeah.
With his comments and stuff, and I can't help but just sense a lot of frustration. A lot of frustration, a lot of disappointment, and just knowing, like, you talk about goals and stuff like that as a franchise, they plan to have a much, much better season. They plan to be there, right around this time and just being a well-oiled machine and be clicking a lot better and pretty much all cylinders like we've seen them do quite a bit, when everybody's upright and healthy and engaged and stuff like that. They can be, as explosive of an offense, arguably, that this league has to offer. And I feel like the fact that, once again, they are too on the outside looking in. Your stars in this case are clearly underachieving in terms of Tyreek Hill, Jalen Waddle, Tua, all of them. The only one that I feel like has really basically gone out and once again showed the type of caliber of player he is from start to finish, minus again the absence of Tua, because even that took a hit, has been A-Chain, the running back there.
Yep,
191 yards, 193 yards, a touch, total offensive yards yesterday.
Big fan of his.
They have a heck of a uber talented back, in that kid. But him aside, I feel like there's been too much of this,
roller coaster,
hills and valleys and roller coaster. So I feel like, as much as he might be saying, I need to practice more and be kind of like hinting at trolling, is probably what's going on social media, saying,
I mean, this is who the Dolphins are. This is who they are.
I need to think about coaching. I'm like, what are you trying to say? What are you trying to say? Say, Tyreek. You know what I mean? But whatever it is, I will say this. It's just like when the dust settles, when the dust clears, and now it's full blown off season. Again, just remember the time. It's the here and the now. I sense a lot of frustration. Obviously, a lot of utmost disappointment, knowing that he's better, that they're better as a team, as a franchise. They have, I still think a pretty good coach, even though who knows? I mean, there could be some rumblings of a potential hot
Hot
seat
seat.
there
Yep, yep. I
with
believe it.
with
I
with
believe it.
with McDaniels. But
Yep.
I like to think that he will end up surviving because they've seen what he can do, what he can get out of this team, and that's got to speak for something at the end of the day. But I think right now he's just his head's all over the place, and rightfully so, because I don't think too many people seen this season playing out the way it did for Miami. I mean, they were fully expected to contend for that division along with Buffalo. Buffalo probably still people were giving the edge to, but that's just that, an edge, not Buffalo in a landslide in runaway fashion where the Dolphins, the Jets, and the Patriots are just literally kind of along for the ride, just going through the motions.
Yeah. It's crazy. Needs more practice. Practice. Allen Iverson. Practice. We talking about practice in week 15, Galen. We talking about practice. How about go fishing in week 15? Just end the season already. Fans
Right.
are the ones suffering. A little bright spot here. We started to show off. We're kind of like bah humbug right now. Christmas 2 days ago. We're talking, all these crazy stories with the NFL. A
two
little
two
bright.
days from now.
Yeah, 2 days from now. A little bright spot here. Here we go. Rookie quarterback Drake May balled out yesterday versus the Bills. I mean, 22 of 36, 61% completion, 260 yards passing, 291 total yards, 2 touchdowns, 90.2 passer rating. May continues to have an impressive rookie season. And by the way, our guy, second-year cornerback Christian Gonzalez, lockdown, like my boy Quentin Michael, lockdown cornerback versus the Bills. He had 33 passing snaps, only 1 catch allowed, 0 total yards, 0 catches allowed, 0 touchdowns allowed. One of the 5 best cornerbacks in the NFL, Galen. Future is looking pretty bright there with your guys, the only 2 guys, I would say. Not discrediting the rest of the team, but those are the 2 shining bright spots in Gonzalez and Drake
It's
May.
okay. I did say it the last show.
Okay.
2 spots.
I don't
to
want to be
look
too
forward
negative.
to,
I didn't want to be too
and,
negative.
and that's about it. But luckily for them, it's at arguably the 2 most important positions from a skill standpoint on the field.
Correct.
Minus, of course, running back and wide receiver. But obviously, those other 2 is a quarterback. First and foremost, always you need that franchise quarterback. But with all the many high flying and very skilled stud wide receivers in this league, you need yourself a baller. On the outside, you need someone that's that shut down, just blanketed type cornerback. And Christian Gonzalez, your boy out in Philly, they're well on their way to just continuing to earn that mantle and that very secluded sort of circle among the outside corners. Really, really talented up and coming corners in this league.
For sure. Future is definitely bright there out there in New England with those 2 guys leading the helmet. 2 key positions also too. So that's off to them. Sam Darnold has many wins with the Vikings this season, alone as he had in his entire Jet career, Galen. He had 38 games for the Jets. He had 13 wins. This season, Vikings alone, he has 13 wins. Kevin O'Connell has done a really remarkable job also. First coach in Vikings team history to have 13 win seasons, not only as a great head coach, but it seems like his players love playing for this guy also. How far do you see the Vikings going in this year's playoffs, Galen? Are they for real? They are a dome team, but a really, really good season. Justin Jefferson's been healthy. Addison's been really good as well, too. Cool celebration dances, by the way, too. Every single week they pull out these remarkable celebration dances. But high spot, right, for Sam Darnold. He leaves New York, goes to San Fran. Now he's back in Minnesota. If you're a suit there, Galen, owner, GM, are you looking to sign Bradford maybe another year, or you go back with McCarthy? Because McCarthy was supposed to get the reins, right? And now all of a sudden here's Sam Darnold. McCarthy got hurt, and then all of a sudden here comes Sam Darnold. How high are you, Sam Darnold? Are you signing this guy to a long-term deal, or this is it, one and done? And your thoughts on Kevin O'Connell? What's he been able to do in Minnesota?
Well, I'll just say this: you don't take McCarthy last year in the first round, high in the first round, um, if he's
A
then
backup,
and
yeah.
still not now, and certainly in 2025 and moving forward, still going to be a guy. So long term extension, no. Do I see if I can extend him as a more than capable and very damn good, if not arguably probably the best um, backup in the league, probably by far. Yeah, that's even if he's interested, because big kudos to Sam Darnold. He's gone out, had a hell of a team, had a hell of a season. Excuse me. He's really been a pick me up from a huge emotional blow, just through and through with that whole McCarthy injury. And I feel like myself, you, probably guys in that locker room. I mean, no one would have seen the emergence and that he was capable of any of this in one single season. Being this year, when you look at his fairly lengthy resume and track record to this point. I mean, I feel like you know he probably was like, okay, he's the guy for now, but we'll probably go out, make a trade just before the start of the season. Because there's always guys that kind of pop free or get dangled out there. And then until we're able to kind of bring them in, bring them up to the speed, and then insert them comfortably into the offense. And that will be, our guy the rest of the way. I mean, I feel like there was a lot of that sort of expectation and thinking before they stayed with Sam Darnold. And, again, he didn't hurt them. He certainly started off as probably like a game manager ish. Probably still has a little bit of that in him, but like, times that, they've needed him to step up and become a very, very good sort of complementary piece to whatever else they have on that offense. You mentioned the two wide receivers, Jefferson. Obviously they still got a really good running back, even though he's getting up there, and Aaron Jones,
Really
and
good season. Yeah.
probably one of the better offensive lines, I would have to say, around the league. So they have pretty much everything there for him to benefit from. But I feel like he hasn't always been in terrible positions elsewhere, and for whatever reason, maybe some of it's him.
Got
Maybe a
pushed to the
big part
side.
of it is the coaching and the philosophy that he fell under with said franchise. Maybe he just hasn't always been the perfect parent. But you look at him now in this current situation, it's clicked. It's clicked for the better in a really, really big way. And like you said, here they are, 13 wins, in, and he's been certainly a pretty big piece, pretty big reason why, a pretty big part of that. But unfortunately, like I said, I mean, unless he has that buy-in sort of mindset, that mentality, and he's really enjoying and then believes in what they have, grooming down there. Certainly by the week in Minnesota, and if they get into the playoffs and they have a legitimate run, and who knows? I mean, at this point, you can't certainly rule them out of possibly coming out of the NFC. And if that happens, I mean, are you in it now for that big contract and to move on and be someone else's, plausible sort of franchise quarterback, which I don't know if it's all that easy to say at this point in his NFL career, or can you give him a little bit of a bump in salary that's more than fair, more than compensated for his efforts, for the really good season that he went out and had and helped you rise to the levels that you were able to get to, and now is it just about like, okay, let's go out and at least get a chip, especially if they come up short this year, or maybe if they're able to, get to the Super Bowl, and as we all know, once you get there, I mean, it's fair game. It's literally anyone's ball game at that point. I mean, because it's no fluke. You get there, you're deserving in getting there. And let's just say they do win the Super Bowl. Okay, maybe he wants a taste at another one. And he wouldn't mind running it back. But basically, I mean, when it comes to is he now their guy? No, that's going to be McCarthy. He's just obviously keeping that seat very, very warm and cozy until we see McCarthy come back around next year. But one way or the other, it's going to be interesting. I will say though, I am a bit suspect of him taking the bag, that huge bump in pay going elsewhere, with maybe not the same coach, philosophy, talent, and all that stuff surrounding him. Because I feel like if he was really capable of being the guy and taking a lot less and rising them up and just making everyone better, I mean, don't you think we probably would have seen it long before now, with him in the Minnesota Vikings? Most likely. So I feel like with that, like a lot of times we hear, I feel like he is what he is at this point, and I wouldn't be so quick just to be all in on Sam Darnold as playing savior. Let's just say the Patriots, they didn't have Drake May. I probably wouldn't be all gun ho about, oh yeah, we need to go out and bring in Darnold or whatever, because we have a void and he can fill that quarterback void for us. I don't. I think it's a little bit of a fool's gold if you look at it from that standpoint.
Yeah, maybe it's a blessing in disguise too. Maybe McCarthy wasn't even ready to be a starting quarterback in this league, and maybe Sam Darnold was the guy. So it's a blessing in disguise for the Vikings. I would probably bring him back for another year and have McCarthy learn under Sam and see where it goes. Or you can take the bag, like you said, but it might not be the same outcome and the same results as what he's receiving now in Minnesota. So it'll be an interesting watch, and they're going to be a tough out as well. Great fan base, great team so far. Um, Happy for Sam. Happy for Sam. So this next,
He definitely deserves it. That's for sure. Yeah,
yeah, for sure. The way
absolutely.
how we played this year, unbelievable. So my Eagles went down yesterday, Galen. I wasn't too surprised. We talked about this last game could be a trap game, and it was a trap game, and they want to get the loss out of their system so we don't have this kind of situation in the upcoming playoffs here. And by the way, my brother sent me a picture, with a Christmas tree. I'm like, oh, that's nice. Thanks for the outpouring support. Oh, that's nice. Welcome Christmas. And I clicked back on his picture again, and was him smiling with a Commander's sweater on. And I said, huh, he's taking subtle shots. And I was like, oh, interesting. Interesting. But Jaden Daniels, Galen, first rookie quarterback in NFL history to throw 5 touchdowns and rush for 50 yards in a single game. I mean, his last 4 games, Galen, 99 of 138 passing, 71.7 completion percentage, 1,200 yards, 305 total yards per game, 14 touchdowns, 104.9 passer rating, 3-1 record. He has been nothing short of spectacular, and a bright future in this league for the Commanders. Terry McLaurin became the first player in team history to have 1,000 receiving yards in the first 5 seasons, which is ridiculous. But my Eagles went down. By the way, the refs missed an obvious false start in that game on the winning play. They didn't call that play. They didn't call that false start. But we shot ourselves in the foot. I mean, 5 turnovers for the defense Washington had, and we still lost the game. And Jalen Hurts went down, concussion. Hopefully he's okay moving forward. Jalen, he says he's fine. He'll be back next week. Tell everyone, just got a bit unlucky today, but he'll be fine moving forward. But I wasn't really too surprised. I mean, I was hoping for a win, but it didn't go our way. Division game. But Jaden Daniels, pretty special talent, Galen.
Yeah, I mean, he's I would have to say, been a little bit ahead of, obviously, New England's Drake May, for obvious reasons. Both him
Yeah.
and Caleb went out and started the year, right out the chute. They've been there and accounted for since week one. So, but I mean, Drake May, he's been pretty consistent since he's gotten his opportunity. But I would have to say, you know, can't really factor him in because he came in around, I think it was like week 5 or so. But Jaden Daniels, Caleb Williams, between those two guys, I feel like it's not even a topic of conversation. I mean, Jaden Daniels from start to the current, soon to be week 16. I mean, he's just been the best rookie. Most consistent, most explosive, the one that's it would appear to be put in the best situation to this point when you look at his supporting cast, the overall pieces, the team, and all that. Where Caleb, like he certainly again has had his ups and downs, but him too. I believe we're about to touch on making some history there as a rookie quarterback for the Bears. So again, no small thing there. But in terms of the timing, the throws, his leadership, I mean, yeah, Jaden Daniels has just been nothing short of special. He's been every bit as advertised, like he was made out to be, with the second overall selection in the NFL draft. And he has a bright future for sure. I mean, the only thing you gotta be a little worrisome about is him being a little light in the pants. But I mean, that should be also, maybe a thing that they can work on with him, with a whole off season soon to come. Maybe, just switching up his regiment a little bit, maybe switching up his dieting. I mean, but then again, I mean, you don't want him getting too heavy, because a big part of his game is just being elusive, and being able to scramble, and keep plays alive, and obviously, as plays break down, able to kind of just be creative, and still be able to make things happen with your legs. So I still think there's another, certainly, little bit to go there in his development, his growth. But with that being said, to see what we've seen from him right out the gate in his rookie year, I mean, if he's just now scratching the surface and there's even more to come, I mean, man, just like my Patriots with Drake May, the development, the emergence there. I mean, if you're a fan of this team, the Washington Commanders, you got to be really, really excited with the prospects of this team's future and stuff, because certainly as he goes, they're gonna go, and he's got an immense ceiling, and they certainly look to hit a grand slam with that draft selection. And it's not just going to stop there. I mean, certainly these guys, are rallying around him. They're seeing, how he's able to elevate not only them individually, but
He's the
as a
real deal.
whole, offensively. And it's guys like him, it's guys like Drake May, and maybe to a lesser extent, because again, I still think the jury's out on Caleb Williams, even though I still think he has a sky high future as well. But certainly in the guys, in what they're able to show, the leadership, both on and off the field, guys, don't think for a second aren't taking notice around the league as free agents, or guys that are unhappy, and a lot of times, have, a little bit of an agenda, try and shoot themselves off of one team and onto a next team. People are taking notices in the cases of Drake May and Jaden Daniels, and they're going to want to come to these respective franchises and join forces, and get a piece of both of those pies, because these guys, I mean, it was a heck of a quarterback class at the top of the draft, and we don't always see it really kind of emerge the way that, fans and the media and the scouts a lot of times draw it up. But last year, this past draft class seems to be the rare exception. I mean, got to be really, really excited for both of these guys.
Yeah, my Eagles had a tough loss. I mean, you see these things with the Falcons and now with the Commanders. And Saquon had that big drop with the Falcons, and Devontae had that big drop yesterday. He says, "Ain't nobody else's fault but mine." Smith had a brutal drop in the fourth quarter. He took accountability. I like to see players taking accountability and not shy away from stuff like that. CJGJ complaining on social media. I mean, rips the refs for rejecting him early in the game. He said, respectively, got kicked out for nothing. I play with passion and fire. Guys were chirping all day. What do you expect? Saquon, I mean, you texted me yesterday, but Saquon joined Adrian Peterson, Jim Brown, only players in NFL history, either 4 rushing touchdowns of 60 yards plus. I think he had a 68-yarder to the house when you texted me yesterday. And Jalen, I mean, he went down and Kenny Pickett came in there, did his thing, but it wasn't enough. It wasn't enough. But Jalen says he's fine. I mean, today everyone did very well, just a bit unlucky. Let's clinch the NFC East next week. They play your Dallas Cowboys next week, Galen. But I like I said in the last show, I wanted them to at least get a loss before heading into the playoffs, right? You kind of agree with me, right? That last sentiment I made last show. Let's get it out of their system, flush this one away, chalk it up for what it is, and just win the next 2 games.
And that's exactly what happened. So, I mean, yeah, it's never fun to come up short on the losing end.
Yeah.
I mean, but you get, again, to this point, this late in the season, I would have to say, if I'm a Philly fan, if I'm in your shoes, many other Eagles fan shoes, I've been there. I've seen it at the worst possible time. Not just playoffs, but the Super Bowl, right?
Yeah.
Winning literally throughout all season,
All season.
through a couple of games in the playoffs. I mean, it would certainly hurt, but those losses, when you just steamroll, you're moving right along with virtually very little to no competition because you're that superior to your opponent in dominating fashion in a lot of those games. Not only does it hurt, but those losses, if and when it does come at the worst possible time, those losses tend to
linger.
You know what I mean? They're gonna sting. So you didn't really like their chances of losing this upcoming week 16 and 17 over the next couple weeks because of obviously who they're going up against respectively. But I did see, and I think so did you, yesterday being the Commanders. I mean, let's look at it, right? Like it's a division game. Again, you see
those are the hard ones. Those are the hard ones.
Yeah, you see Jaden Daniels, how he's just hit and he's made that seamless transition from college ball right into the starting quarterback for the Commanders, and from leadership, on and off the field, him being able to make all the throws, be able to incorporate his, really skilled and dynamic, scrambling, when it's needed, to the poise. I mean, look at, there was no bigger part of the game yesterday that he was able to bring them all the way back, force overtime, and then seal the deal in overtime. I mean, it's just, he has incredible poise, and you look at his body language, because obviously when you got a star caliber player like that, and obviously on top of it, he's a quarterback. When the cameras focus on him and they get the shots of him, I don't know about you, but it's just like he always seems like he's going out and having fun. Like we've said many times in the past. I mean, yeah, it's a very brute
positive
game.
Vibes.
They're grown men playing a kid's game. We've heard that time and time again. But they're massive. They're fast. There's a lot of gruesome injuries out there, but it is kind of very it's like a breath of fresh air. It's very inspiring when you see these shots of some of these players, guys, especially like him, and their personality just kind of really shines through. I mean, he just never seems like he's having a bad day, let alone anything bad in a game that's happening with him and his offense. He always seems to be, smiling and just laughing and joking, keeping it loose on the sidelines, to really just going and just getting his team like focus, to the drive to be and all that stuff. I mean, you never really see him like in a bad way. He's not pouting. He's not like just lighting up like receivers or anything like that on the sidelines, which we sometimes see between quarterback and wide receiver and stuff. There's no tongue lashing. It's just like cool, calm, and collected. Like, don't worry, guys. Like, we're still in this. Like, one drive at a time. Like, and again, to a lesser extent, I keep on like linking the two, but we're even seeing a lot of leadership qualities too, here in New England. Or again, I'm in Arizona, but you get what I mean. Out
Yeah.
of Drake May, I mean, these guys have really, really good right out the gate in their rookie years, some immense leadership qualities. And that's huge. I mean, you can have all the skill in the world, but if your body language is down, if you're kind of sulking and kind of like just got your head in the dumps and stuff, which we have seen probably on a few occasions from the other top notch big shot rookie there being Caleb Williams, the number one overall
He's
pick.
just not winning in Chicago.
So yeah, he's not winning. He does have these up and down moments
Terrible
throughout
body
the season
language.
thus far.
Terrible.
But it's just like the body language, the leadership.
Yeah.
So you can have all the skill in the world, but if you swap out those two guys yesterday, is he able to do what Jaden Daniels
No
is
way.
able to do with this offense and bring them all the way back and really come up and perform with the best of them in the biggest climax moments of these games? I'm not so sure. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? So that's what I'm saying. I like Washington in tremendous hands. He may not be the biggest, but he's got all the skill in the world, and more importantly, he has the goods. He has the leadership to match those skills. And yeah, I mean, wow, where would this franchise be without him? Just coming through and just proving to be a great addition, and just flat out just appeared to be that next guy, the right call, because too often do you take these guys number one overall, two, three, fifth, whatever, very, very high in the first round, and they prove to be in no time just bust, epic bust. And he's just anything but tremendous talent.
Get well soon, Jalen Hurts, from that concussion. We have Dallas. We have the Giants up next. CJ, GJ, just chirping. Just play the game. Just stop chirping. You want to be available for your team. Just stop. Just play the game. Be available. Let your talking. Let your play do the talking. Let the play do your talking for you. And Devontae Smith taking accountability. That was good to see. That was very, very good to see. He didn't hide away from it, didn't shy away from it. He answered questions, and that's what you like to see when those guys come out and just say, "Hey, I made a mistake. That's on me. Let's move on. Let's pick up. That's football. That's what it is." And it was good to see that Devontae took some accountability for not coming up with that catch. He caught that ball yesterday. That was a first down, and it would have been game over. And then the refs also missing a false start, and they didn't call it. Philly fans are upset, but I think yeah, we can't win every single game, but I think is a kind of a loss we had to get it out of our system now, regroup, and get better, and focus on these next two games and take it from there. That's all we can do. No need to whine and complain.
Things happen for a reason. If it's in the cards this year, maybe that was just the football gods talking to all you Philly faithful over there, saying like, hey, like you guys will be all right. We're just gonna throw you guys a little shortcoming now, and then we're gonna spring you guys forward the rest of the way. So yeah, they might be down, but they'll be
Not out.
glad if they go right back on the road. I mean, get back right on the roll, pick up right where you guys left off a couple weeks ago, and see it through. Then you guys, week 15 will be anything but a very, very distant memory.
Panthers quarterback Bryce Young has more game-winning drives this season than Lamar Jackson and Josh Allen. He has 3, Allen has 2, and Lamar has 2. Young versus Murray yesterday, Galen, was the first time 2 5'10" under quarterbacks faced each other since 1956. Bryce Young has kind of had like an up and down year. He started, then he got benched, and Dalton came in there. You have to sit and learn and watch. He's been actually not bad after that happened, and I think Chuba Hubbard too has been a really nice piece for this Panthers organization and team moving forward. You're taking Bryce Young really fast. What we saw yesterday in the season.
If you're talking about a guy that was almost like well on his way, for certain,
getting traded,
be like this close to being even two things. Number one, a career backup, certainly moving forward with no chance of being a legitimate starter there or elsewhere. That was certainly on the table. If not, maybe altogether, he had shown so little and virtually did nothing to, like you said, pretty much the halfway point of this year, because it took a few weeks when they swapped the quarterbacks out and stuff, sat him for Dalton. I mean, he may not have gotten another crack, because I feel like from a resume standpoint, there wasn't enough there on tape, on film, with these games on game day, to even be warranted a fresh start elsewhere. So basically, my point is his NFL career was in severe jeopardy. And I feel like, like you were saying, his comeback victories, I mean, that's always a nice little sort of thing to have out there, not just winning, but being able to
come back,
kind of get down and just it affect your play. And to be also now known and perceived as just no, if we get down, I can rebound
bring you guys
with the best of them,
yeah,
and I can come back and steal a game, out of nowhere. So now he's not just have one, not two, but 3 of them. Wow, give me 1 or 2, and that's pretty impressive. He's got 3 to this point, and like you said, crazy company with Lamar Jackson and Josh Allen, who respectively both have 2. So I would have never put my dollars and bet that that Bryce Young would have that on both guys. I mean, that's pretty cool. That's pretty awesome. And like I said, he's not really crushing it in terms of numbers and really looking like a true great, elite talent at the quarterback position. But let's face it, I mean, there's different levels, of skill set. I mean, you don't look at the, the top 20 quarterbacks, the top 15, and deem them, anoint them, all elite. That wouldn't make sense, because then you have a league full of them, and there's a reason why guys go where they go in the draft, because more often than not, that's going to be the higher regarded lottery, prototypical lottery selection, which he was, let's be honest, but so was Trevor Lawrence, among others. And sometimes they just really prove to be, when their careers get going and they have more than enough of a sample size, that maybe they're a rung or 2 down from the true elite. That's okay. But if you're playing, you're starting, and you're contributing, and you're just making your mark in other ways, and you're still effective, then that's fine. We'll just continue to build around you, put pieces around you, and maybe hope that that is able to get you to the next level, in terms of the skill set and the whole competitive nature, with said quarterback. In this case, we're talking about Bryce Young.
Bryce Young. Yeah.
So I think, goods to him. He certainly has went out and bought himself a little bit more time, to say the least. At least another, I don't know, half a season to a season. I think it's gonna continue to move forward right there in Carolina. I think it only makes the most sense to do so, because I feel like they've now, as an organization, started to rally around him again. I feel like he does have the respect and the belief there in the locker room amongst his peers. So I think, in all honesty, Chuba Hubbard is looking like he definitely is the real deal and is more than capable of being the full-time running back there moving forward. So I think it may come down to, like, a player at the tight end position, which you could probably use, and like to see a little bit of an upgrade there, and certainly someone to put opposite of the stud rookie there that they took this past draft. So maybe get him a nice little comparable piece, to kind of draw some of the attention away, and just flat out give Bryce another intriguing weapon. If they do that, they definitely got a couple guys on the defensive side of the ball, whatever. They do that, I don't see why you wouldn't entertain bringing them back. Go into next year, with probably arguably as much confidence as what you've been led to believe and have, between the franchise and Bryce. I think he's definitely worthy of that. And I think, that should be like the ideal plan. I think this whole moving on from him, trading him outright releasing him, just because, yeah, there's nothing here. I think those days are gone. I think he clearly rebounded, to say the least, and more importantly, he saved his job, both there in Carolina and maybe altogether when it comes to the NFL, because he was that close, probably to just being a
Being
total
just
bust,
another guy in the
and
bust. Yeah.
and being out of this league. So, goods to him.
By the way, sneaky good season. Marvin Harrison Jr. as well in Arizona had some really amazing catches. His dad was a beast, and he seems to be well on his way, to being that as well. Are you high? Are you high or low on Murray, Kyler Murray?
It's tough to say, because I thought, these two, the one you were just talking about, MHJ, Marvin Harrison Jr.
Yeah,
and Murray, I thought they were going to be good for each other. In
I
all
thought so too.
honesty,
Yeah, I thought so too.
I thought there would be a a lot more consistency than what we've seen, play out this year. I feel like for every game or two, there's like about two or three subpar to below average. Just like,
It's like a roller coaster, right? Roller coaster.
is he really the guy here?
Yeah, that's what I think
But
too.
like, how much of that is tied to the quarterback? I'm all in on Marvin Harrison Jr.
So am I.
And I know he has the goods. I know he has the talents, the the well-rounded, complete route tree, all that stuff. I mean, you could tell he's just dripping with immense potential and skill. But I'm starting to kind of question, is Kyle Murray
The guy, the guy,
the perfect ideal
quarterback for him.
quarterback on that end.
Yeah, yeah.
He needs steady quarterback play. He needs someone that's going to be able to complement his skill set and just be able to get him the ball in virtually every situation. And I feel like there have been stretches, big enough stretches, where it's just like, is it Harrison Jr. or is it Murray? Like, there's some sort of disconnect here. So I don't know. If it is indeed that the franchise is thinking like, maybe Kyle Murray's not the guy that we thought he was, even with pairing him with Harrison Jr. I mean, you talk about the clock, ticking. Maybe it's going to start to click. I mean, start ticking more and more and louder when it comes to Kyle Murray. And let's not forget, I mean, there was already a little bit of a disconnect well before Marvin Harrison Jr. even got selected by them. There was a little bit of a, kind of thing going on between Murray and the franchise. So I feel like with the inconsistent play and the chemistry between the two of them, don't be surprised if you start hearing murmurs between them and their current quarterback situation. They might have to do something there just to salvage. I think a heck of a selection and a talent with Harrison Jr.
For sure, for sure. Interesting off season ahead. So 2025 quarterback Shador Sanders is currently projected to be drafted by the New York Giants with the overall first number one pick. Sanders posted right after the G-Men took the number one spot, legendary Raiders head coach Antonio Pierce on potentially losing the number one pick after beating the Jacksonville Jaguars. Talked to Tom Telesco. Raiders do what Raiders do, Galen. I mean, yeah, you don't want to go out there and lose every single game and, not have guys show up. You play to win the game, right? Like our guy Herman Edwards would say. So the Raiders won yesterday, and now they've just lost the number one pick. Do you see Shador Sanders going to the New York Giants? And should they draft him number one pick?
I mean, I don't know. I mean, you have to do what's in the best interest for your franchise. That's just obvious, right? That's
What it
for
is. That's
starters.
what it is. Yep.
But the thing is, I mean, I'll ask you because I think, I mean, should it be Shador in a landslide in runaway? I mean,
As
can't
Deion Sanders
I,
said he's going to be a big part of this draft. So Deion says no,
yeah,
sort of like what Archie did with Eli. You're not going there. You're going here. I could see Deion pulling some strings behind the scenes and telling Shador where to go and where not to go.
yeah, no, I get it, but I mean, there's the other quarterback there,
Ward from Miami. Yes, Ward.
Cam
Cam
Ward.
Ward. Correct.
Yeah, so I mean, you look at him and the season that he's had, his skill set, to Shador's. I feel like that there's a little bit of similarities there. I mean, they're both ballers. That they're both highly regarded. So it seems to me, I could be wrong, but it seems to me, I mean, these two more and more, Cam Ward and Shador, they should be a little bit more along the lines of a coin flip at this point. I mean, I don't think it should be, you know, in runaway fashion Cam Ward, just like I don't think it should be runaway fashion Shador. I think two of them, the both of them alike, seem to be relatively close in the draft, whether that's definitively in the top three, top five, or one around the top three, top five, maybe the other a few picks later, but certainly in the top 10. It's kind of hard to see exactly where they're going to fall. I mean, certainly if the Raiders didn't fall behind the Patriots and it remained 1-2 between them and the Giants, you can make a legitimate case of both of those guys going 1-2 because, I mean, let's face it, both of those guys need the next one. They need to find the next franchise quarterback. And I feel like in this instance, both of these quarterbacks give you probably hands down in this year's draft class the best and logical selections to basically appoint and anoint them as those type of possibilities for the respective franchises, being that next franchise quarterback, because they don't really need wide receiver or running back or tackle or anything like that more than finding the next guy. And what better draft selections than Shador, Cam Ward, or Cam Ward, Shador, in whatever order you may think. So I still think that all is not lost if the Giants are all in on Shador and insist on Shador being the guy. I'd like to think that the Raiders are just like, all right, well, we'll take Cam Ward, or like I said, in reverse, because I think at the end of the day, both guys are very close and similar and very highly regarded. So I just think it's interesting because according to reporting that's being floated out there, they're just, and like you said, we've seen it with Eli and the family and the whole selection when
Yep.
he was
It's
coming
a
out.
process. Yeah.
It seems like it's trending in a similar light. So apparently, the Sanders family, most notably Dion, he just wants nothing to do with him going to the Giants, and he's gonna try and angle every way possible to steer his selection towards him being a Raider. So I don't like when the optics and all the personal sort of preferences get factored in and really kind of play a role at the end of the day successfully. I really hope that it doesn't kind of circle back around and we see it again years later. But like you said, I mean, we've seen it play out before. So the fact that, we've processed bridge in the past and we've seen, people with that much power and influence basically scare these teams off from making the preferred choice. And that's bringing a guy like Eli, or in this case, Shador, to town, only to be like, oh, well, we don't know if they'll actually sign and like ever want and be willing to suit up, with our uniform. I mean, can we just be happy? Can we just be happy and go wherever it's meant for you to go,
Yeah.
and just kind of shut your mouth and just do the right thing. I mean, that's what free agency is for. If it's not meant to be and you're unhappy, then that's it. Then we'll just part ways or whatever, and we'll basically go preferably wherever you want to go come free agent. But
Right.
for it to be like forced ahead of schedule, I'm not a fan with that, and I really hope it doesn't come to that come April.
Yeah. I mean, multiple New York players were openly complaining on social media after the game. The team has serious culture problems, the New York Jets. Aaron Rodgers, and if he plans to stay with the Jets next season. I just redid my house here in New Jersey. My goal was to play a few more years here. I'd like to play well and feel like I'm wanted back. If not, I will not be offended. I won't be upset. I mean, Wilson and other players yesterday chirping, chirping, chirping. I mean, this is the same old Jets, and they had one of the most primetime games along with the Niners and the Cowboys. This is what they do. Typical New York Jets. Do you see Aaron Rodgers coming back next season, Galen? What do you make of the Jets? They have a lot of work to do, the New York Jets, don't they?
Yeah, they do, and the fact that you're hearing such chirping on specifics. Oh, I just upgraded my home, but I guess if I'm not wanting back, you start hearing things like that, being mentioned and floated out there. I mean, that's not good. That's never a good sign, and it's just, I don't know. Like you say, it's the same old Jets. I feel like the Jets, they're prone to this. They can't get out of their own way. And I feel like if it happened elsewhere, it'd be a little bit more like, this is interesting. Didn't see this coming. But because it's coming from the Jets, no, like there's just no surprise there. And of course, Aaron Rodgers, he loves himself to spotlight. He loves all eyes, all ears on him. It's just like he likes to really
Stir the pot, per
Uh,
se. Stir the pot.
stir the pot. He likes to really just steal the spotlight and just make it about him. And I feel like this is yet again another example of Aaron Rodgers doing just that, doing Aaron Rodgers things. And it's too bad because he's actually rebounded pretty nice. I feel like over the last few weeks, he wasn't looking good for quite a while there. Before he went on this little stretch, it took him certainly a few games to kind of refined once again that very just immense chemistry between him and Devontae. But certainly, they're back, clicking on cylinders like they know how to do, and so much so. I actually was speaking a little bit about this with our other compadre there from the past, Angry Mike, and I'm like, you know what the surprising thing is not every quarterback I feel at this stage of their career at this age is able to support multiple wide receivers. I'm not talking about 3, 4, whatever, but just 2 wide receivers. I feel like Aaron Rodgers, he should still be able to support 2 wide receivers, but as you alluded to, I mean, now we're hearing murmurs and the disgruntledness from Garrett Wilson, and you look at the game as it's playing out. You look at the box score, and can you blame the guy? The guy's barely even been involved of late, and he's arguably again top 5 wide receiver, well inside the top 10. He's a problem. He's a beast. He's a heck of a talent at the wide receiver position, and he had been the guy prior to Devontae coming on, and it's just some way somehow it's just like Aaron Rodgers doesn't care. Like he's just taking care of his boy, and the box score and everything, the stats. You're watching it, in front of your television screen. It's just like going to Devontae Adams early and often, every single week, and it's just like, why is that? Like, I mean, I don't know, but my point is just like he's not doing what he needs to do, because I feel like you shouldn't be able to easily take away and double cover Wilson, just like you shouldn't be able to just as easily do the same with Devontae Adams, because they're both immense, they're both great, and they're highly skilled. There should be like a little bit of a ping pong effect, and it's just not. It's just this guy's not even involved in the game plan, meaning Garrett Wilson. So it's just like one way or the other. I mean, this is an interesting little collision course. And it definitely bears watching, because the offseason, I mean, let's face it, Garrett Wilson should be looked at and perceived, and certainly was, as a franchise talent. Granted, at the wide receiver position,
For sure.
but he's got a lot more ball left in him than what either Aaron Rodgers or Devontae Adams, for that matter, have left in their tank, just with age alone. So even though there's been a nice little connection and there's been a little bit of a reemergence for both Devontae and Aaron Rodgers, if I'm the Jets, I just basically blow the whole thing up. I look for that next quarterback, and I just continue to invest and this and basically look to continue more shares of Garrett Wilson, and I just try and build around him and find that next nucleus elsewhere, even if that means parting with
Aaron.
first off Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah.
And if you do that, obviously there's really going to be no point there for Devontae.
Definitely a
after
culture
that.
change. Yeah, if Rodgers leaves, Devontae leaves. Definitely a culture change needs to happen for the New York Jets, being a terrible franchise and terrible owner as well, in Woody Johnson. But this is what the bad teams do, Galen. They find ways to lose, and they chirp after games, not in a positive light. So Jets got a
And Aaron
lot of work
Rodgers,
to do.
and even like, how easy it would be just for him to like just flat out shoot it down and just be a
won't.
professional.
He won't.
Like he just has no desire. Like I said, he just continues to make it about him and just entertain it. Like, oh well, I'm happy, but if they want me out, I guess, yeah, I mean, we
I'll
can make
leave.
that happen too. Like,
Yeah.
what a douche. I hate to say it, but he's unbelievable. He's a piece of work.
He is. He really is. Falcons quarterback rookie Michael Penix made his debut yesterday. First pass was a nice pass right there. He thanks God after winning his NFL debut game yesterday. I got to give glory to God. I thank God for putting me in this position. So shout out to Michael Penix, and maybe he's the guy moving forward in ATL. And do you see Kirk Cousins maybe hanging it up? Maybe it's time for Kirk to go, or you see Kirk playing another season for possibly another contender next year, or possibly a backup.
I mean, certainly he's going to, you can only imagine if you're Kirk Cousins, you're not going to want to go out like that. So I guess retirement's always a possibility. However, I think he's just going to try and give it one last go. Preferably, I'm assuming he's going to want that as in a starting capacity. And then if he can't get that, not to say that he's above that, but I feel like it might be time, and we could see him maybe just float off into retirement, because I feel like the guys, or the jobs that are going to be out there, guys, let's face it, like Sam Darnold, certainly went out and did a lot more.
Played well, yeah, for
Um,
sure. He did.
Played well, certainly had that much better of a supporting cast, granted, but hey, at the end of the day, numbers are numbers. And at this point, Darnold is, definitely on the younger end as opposed to Kirk Cousins. Um, might even certainly be looked at and perceived to have uh, that much more left in the tank between the two. Then you look at the draft again, like we were just talking about. We got guys like that are expected and will no doubt be coming out in several months' time from now. Shador and Cam Ward. Um, I mean, you even gonna be, floating out guys like that, again, a matter of when and not if, but I'm sure current Patriots backup right now, Jacoby Brissett, even though I would definitely take
Journeyman, yeah,
Cousins over him.
for sure.
But yeah, it's gonna come down to competitions and in spots even available, whether those teams are, even gonna want, someone of the veteran pedigree, or if they're just gonna prefer like going the route of the draft and just looking to get that next guy. So I mean, it's hard to tell right now with Kirk Cousins, but I'm sure from a pride standpoint, he's gonna want to go out with certainly that much more production and a more positive effect, even if that is on the table, than what we last, just happened to see from him this past year. But yeah, they're going to end up moving on. Obviously, it's already being reported. They have that next guy in Penix. I mean, that's why you take him where you took him in the draft. And then at that point, there might be a starting job waiting for him. And if there isn't, I'm sure there still will be a place as a backup, because then, I mean, he would be great in that role, but he may be thinking like, no, I should be a starter up until it's time for me to step aside and walk away. But it should be interesting, because if there's not that obvious starting sort of role he can move on to and slide into, then yeah, things are gonna get real, and we'll see if he's just okay with calling it a career. But I think at this juncture, that might actually be in play like no other time before now.
Now or never, right? I mean, if you're gonna do it now, if you don't do it at a certain point, you got to take a cap hit and all that stuff. $10 million cap hit for Kurt. So I think the Falcons are just gonna move off Kurt, and he probably find somewhere else to play next year, or just hang it up. He's made a lot of money, so
Oh, certainly has. Yep.
he likes the bag. Kurt loves his bag. I can tell you that. Um, Bears quarterback Caleb Williams is the first quarterback in team history with 3,000 passing yards in his rookie season. I couldn't tell because Caleb, from college to now, seems like he has a lot of upside. But like you said earlier, man, just his body language, he's like slumping. He's like, you can't do that as a quarterback. You're the quarterback. You got to lead men. It's not just boys and guys anymore in college. You got to lead men. You can't be, and they see you like that, they're gonna feed off that body language, which is just negative body language. You gotta be upright. You gotta say, come on, let's pick it up, let's go. You gotta be the motivator. I know he's young, but you gotta act mature. You can't be slumping on the sidelines. And he's got a decent team. It's not a bad team. He's some influx with the coaching and general manager, and the Bears have been the Bears, recent memory. But I want Caleb to succeed in Chicago, but man, I don't know. I just don't know. They got to go out and get a head coach, an offensive head coach, a really good head coach, and pull this thing together before Caleb ends up being like another Justin Fields. I hate to see it happen, but if it continues this way and they're not winning, he's putting up these numbers like we said with Parsons, and you don't win. It's kind of like, yeah, but you're good, but you're not winning anything. And he can't act like that on the sidelines as a quarterback. And the camera's on you 24/7, so you cannot act like that on the sidelines. I wanted to see him do good in Chicago, but at this point, I don't know. I got some doubts. What say you?
Well, I'll just say this. I mean, are you surprised? Should we be surprised? I
No.
mean, these are uh, basically the mere same traits that he was known for showing, displaying, and everything in college, during his time over at USC. So it's just like it's almost like this should be an easy fix. There comes a point in time where you need to show that maturity, that growth, that ability to lead, and I feel like it's more want than anything. Do you want to be better? Do you want to be what it do you want to be what it takes and what it basically calls for and demands at the quarterback position? You know, do you want to be able to be like, hey, this is my team, like it's my fault, this and that, like all this stuff is every bit possible, the ability to lead, have all the ownership on you, take the responsibility. You can certainly hold yourself and show better, with these camera shots, because like you said, like it's always going to be looking
Just
for
a
guys
bad
like
outlook.
him,
Terrible.
Jaden Daniels, Drake May, because these guys, they're the quarterback, they're the de facto leader. People are looking for them to be the face of the franchise. And I feel with Caleb going all the way back to, again, his time in college, I mean, he just never really embraced that end of football, like to him, I really get the sense where it's just like, well, no, I'm going to do, what's been stored upon me in terms of God given ability and overall talent. I'm gonna put up my numbers. I'm gonna move mountains on the field, but everything else that comes with it, the leadership, the accountability, all that stuff, it just seems and appears like he can't be any more disinterested in that side of the game. And I feel like you can have all the talent in the world and put up, ungodly type numbers more often than not. But if there's not that accountability and that ownership and just like, hey, this is my team and I'm gonna pick my guys up, and even if he's feeling down or whatever, it I'm not saying it's easy. Don't get me wrong. I'm not. But it just, is it really that hard just to kind of like put a smile on your face and act the part, act like you've been there,
Yeah,
you
correct.
know,
Correct.
just as like, I'm gonna fake it till I make it type crap, you know.
At this point,
Um,
yeah.
so I mean, that's not hard. You can do it. I can do it. I actually probably have quite a bit of that in me because I don't. I'm kind of big on perception. I know sometimes how I wear my heart on my sleeve, and then in doing so, it's not always perceived all that well. It's not a good look, you know.
Right.
So I try, more and more in recent years. It was just like, hey, like I need to be cognizant of that. I need to be better and to try not to give off that sort of impression. And guess what? I'm nowhere near where he is as a professional athlete. Like, being blessed with the position and being drafted and just leading said franchise as their franchise quarterback. Like, if I can do it, you can do it. You're expected to do it. So to me, I feel like it's a decision.
Yeah.
So if it comes this time next year and we're still seeing the same old shenanigans, the same old whole hum, then you talk about um, Bryce Young there. I mean, it may not be all that long that Caleb Williams can be start to be questioned and challenged in terms of
Are you
what
the
do we
guy?
really have the guy,
Yeah.
especially if it's a lot of sort of meddling and a lot of sort of like okay but not great results for that franchise. And again, not just off the field, but now even more so on the field. If he's not able to elevate them, if they're not really anywhere's even that much closer to the playoffs, if they're not in the playoffs, then he was brought in. And then if you look at it with the additions of Keenan Allen, whatever, DeAndre Swift, they also simultaneously, tried and made a damn good effort in terms of sprucing up this offense, and trying to elevate this offense with obviously the draft selection to be being him. So it's not that they just brought him on board and the rest of the offense that was lacking, they made no moves. No, they did make moves. And I'm sure as someone who follows the team, fans of that team. Obviously, just the front office. I mean, I'd like to think that they're not going to stop with what they just did this past off season. So I feel like we're inching closer and closer to him having really no excuses left. And once we do get to that point, it's going to be on him. But yeah, it's just I feel with him, it's just he doesn't really have that fight and that dog uh,
In him.
of what it takes to really kind of arrive and emerge into the role that they drafted him for, and that a lot of people would like to see him get to. That falls on him, and like in anything in life, some of us have that give a bleep, sort of sense about us. And then there's others that just kind of go through the motions and just don't really care what the fan base, the media, how they're perceived and viewed. And I feel like we're starting to get to that point where is it ever gonna start to click? Is that light bulb gonna go off?
I
I
hate
don't
to
know.
see it, but I don't know. Yeah, jury's out.
Yeah, I think it's we're not wrong for questioning it. That's for sure.
No,
I mean, I feel like it's a valid question.
for sure.
But I would love to be proven wrong. I really hope
So
that
would
this
I.
time next year, that I've been proven wrong, because what's going to happen if and when that does happen. I'm not saying it will, but I'm not ruling it out. Then you'll be looking at something that we haven't seen arguably ever, and if we have, It's been probably so long, I'm having trouble like remembering, but we would have went 3 for 3, 1, 2, 3 in terms of Caleb, Jaden, and Drake May all being
Yeah.
hits. You almost never see that high up in the draft, with guys that are given lofty expectations. We if anything, the chances of hitting on one out of those three quarterback would be
Yeah.
probably a higher percentage than
Definitely a
merely going three
crapshoot.
for three.
Crapshoot for
It's
sure.
it's
Yeah.
it's always a crapshoot,
Yeah.
always. But that's the only thing holding back Caleb Williams at this point. And again, I just don't know if he has it in him to get out of his own way and change that.
We were talking about brotherly shove versus the gritty. So Justin Jefferson got penalized for doing the gritty, while looking at a Seattle Seahawks player yesterday. He got 15 yards for doing the gritty, Galen. So I blame you on that. Justin Jefferson got flagged for doing the gritty while looking at a opposing player from the Seahawks, and he got 15 yards for doing that. I mean, as the NFL gone soft now, and I kind of blame you on that. For Justin Jefferson with that gritty action yesterday there.
And why are you blaming me?
Well, we had a discussion. The gritty
Justin Jefferson's move. Justin Jefferson's move, not mine.
We had a brotherly shove versus the gritty there, so he got NFL's gone soft. NFL's gone soft, man.
Come on, Kemford. When's the last time the NFL has actually been the NFL? It's been way too long. If anything, I feel like not the last month or so, but going back the last decade or so, last 10 years, give or take, from when we had been on.
Yeah,
I mean, we were saying it back then. It was like really starting to change noticeably from what had been the National Football League to now better known as, and more accurately stated, the No Fun League. Yeah. So the acronyms and everything that are still the same. It's always going to be the NFL, but it's just like, what version of the NFL are they going to pride themselves of being for that year? And still here we are about 10 or so years later. It had started to become the No Fun League then, and it certainly hasn't changed all this time now that we've made our way back. It's still the No Fun League. And it's going to continue to be. I hate it with doofuses like Roger Goodell. Not a fan. He is good in a way. He knows how to make
it bigger,
leak some insane
amount of money,
crazy stupid money. So that I'll give him, but just him and the referees just cracking the whip, in terms of come on,
let them play.
Guys,
let them play.
They bust their ass all season, throughout the season, training, practicing. They're really doing a job on themselves on game day, and they literally can't have 10, 15 seconds of fame, for doing something that is as immensely talented as Justin Jefferson is. There's still someone that he's going up against opposite of him that is one hell of an athlete,
just as good,
and ball out to, you know what I mean? These guys are going against pretty close, if not mere same competition on the other side. So if they're able to find pay dirt once, or in the case of Jefferson just yesterday, 2 times in a game, let them just let out their excitement. Let them let out that just positive energy. Oh my God, yeah, found the pay dirt again. I got in the end zone. These guys work for it. They just let them have their moment. It's not that hard. If it goes on for 30 seconds a minute, okay, but 10, 15 seconds,
yeah,
okay. It doesn't make sense to me. It really doesn't, because I feel like a lot of that's not even him intentionally trying to show up that play or whatever. It could just be just where he happens to look or
Where he happens
whatever.
to be,
And
yeah.
maybe like for all you know, that guy kind of was asking for it because they've been chirping all
Chirping the whole
game long.
game.
And
Yeah, yeah.
like, we do it on in backyard football, like at maybe playing even high school ranks or whatever, like chirping and celebrating this and that has always been a part of the game. And now at the highest level, like, so why are we even dressing up in said uniform with helmets? Why aren't we out there playing such a brute, again, kids game, like we like to call it, as grown men? Why are we suiting up in uniforms and helmets? Why aren't we out there in our corporate suits and shoes? Like,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? Because that's how they're treating it. Give me a break. It's just trash. No
Keep
fun
on,
league.
keep on doing the gritty, Justin Jefferson. It's fantastic
Yeah.
celebration. Fantastic.
Some of us are behind you and appreciate the gritty.
We appreciate the gritty, Justin Jefferson. We appreciate the gritty.
Keep it coming.
Bills wide receiver Mac Hollins, Gale, and this guy is crazy beyond psycho. He arrived shirtless and shoeless today in yesterday's game, despite being 15 degrees and freezing outside. Mac Hollins, this is what he does, man. You seen clips of him, Mac Hollins, arriving at games? Doesn't like to wear shoes.
Yeah, I've seen it, and it's just become more and more weirder as it draws that much later into the football season, especially where he calls home and where
Buffalo.
he just was again yesterday. Like, what are we doing? Like,
he's different. He's a different cat. He's a different cat.
You can't just stick to like, oh, I'm gonna go out there like sleeveless, and even then, I would think you're borderline insane, But like showing up to the stadium with no shoes on, without a shirt, like, all right, we get it, you're tough, but I don't know. I feel like people that insist on doing things are looking for a reaction. So when you zing,
It's a thing. It's a thing. It's a thing.
I would rather not, really speak about something, that's borderline stupid and just dumb. Like, because you might be tough, right? You might be tough, Kemford, in terms of Mac Hollins, but are you so tough where you're gonna like some way, somehow just avoid a potential inevitable, like from a health standpoint? No, like just flat out being sick and coming down with pneumonia. Like you might be tough, but like if you don't like do right by your body and take care of it and dress when you ought to dress and stuff like that, throw on socks and shoes when you ought to, like in such extreme inclement
temperatures,
weather, temperatures and stuff.
He's
like,
different,
bro,
man.
You're only looking, from a health standpoint, just to be put down for a couple of days. You know what I mean? Like he deserves to get sick and learn his lesson that way. You know what I mean? which I don't rule out. You want to be that stupid. You want to draw attention on yourself in such a way because you can't consistently get it done on the football field. Let's face it. Because I mean, yeah, Matt Collins, what is he like? Maybe good for a catch a game. It's not
Or
that
two.
serious. So yeah, or two. So it's just like, if that's the case, well, let me get people talking about me by showing up to the stadium without no shirt on, or better yet, without shoes. Like, no, he's gonna zig. I'm zagging. That's all I have to say, because I'm not gonna feed into him and his sort of egotistical, sort of like stupid ways. I'm not going to condone it. I don't think we should condone it. So if he's going to continue to do this, let him do it. I'm just going to look the other direction, or better yet, next time I'll just close my eyes and like legit talk myself into not seeing what I actually just saw, because I'm like, that's not normal. You're stupid. And okay, you did it once, but every single week, okay, it's old. It's old news.
So you're zigging and zagging.
Yep. He's zigging, I'm zagging.
Oh, yeah. He's zigging, you're zagging. Gotcha.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
He wants us to like, oh, look at me and give him the satisfaction. And I don't think we should do that. Nope, I'm good. When you get pneumonia, let me know how that works.
This story is just it's just bananas. Travis Hunter, our 2024 Heisman Trophy winner, Galen, has deactivated his Instagram account after his fiance went viral multiple times and has received some serious hate. I mean, this story is just getting from bad to worse, Galen. Um, your thoughts, real quick, on this? I mean, I guess he did the right thing, staying on social media. I'm not sure for how long. Just focus on the draft, right? And do you see him playing cornerback or wide receiver in the league? I know a lot of scouts and guys around the league, executives, are pushing for him to be cornerback and not wide receiver.
Well, I'll just say this. We got to do what we got to do, at different points, especially with, like you say, the draft coming up in a few several months from now.
Focus on important things
Um,
in life, right?
so, yeah, so is that, what this is all about, just for him to stay as focused as he needs to be, um, just so we can prepare accordingly. I would hope so.
So would I.
I'm really hoping it's more to do with that than for all the wrong reasons. And like you said, with her being front and center of receiving all this, hate and backlash, for her sort of like, again, spotlighted sort of self, like, you
Shenanigans.
know yeah, she needs all that
Toxic.
attention.
Toxic.
She's like the female version of Aaron Rodgers. Just loves herself some spotlight, but we'll probably never know the real reason behind it. But I'd like to think that, from everything we hear, great guy, very gentleman-esque, in terms of how he is with her, both on and off the field.
Yeah.
Obviously,
How he
a
conducts his business.
4.0 student and all that
Correct.
stuff. Always saying the right things, when put in front of the camera or even on social media. So there's certainly a lot to like when it comes to Travis Hunter. So I mean, it could go in either direction. It's either him just like, you know what, I'm taking the stand for the two of us and I'm going to ignore all the noise, or maybe he's just following suit, getting kind of offended and just really being dragged into all this negative backlash that she's been receiving. Again, and it's been warranted. It's with good
For
reason,
sure. For
and
sure.
I feel like he's hit a crossroad where, like, he's been forced to pick, like, oh, you're gonna defend me, and just kind of like just get off social media and we'll make our stance that way, or are you just gonna like let people just tee off on me and you're just gonna focus, like, who knows? I mean, again, it's not really our business, but yeah, it's a little disappointing because I feel like to this point, he's been a joy to follow and kind of get to know a little bit through social media and stuff. And at least until further notice, it doesn't look like we're gonna get that opportunity until he just ends up like tapping back in. Um, in terms of the position he ought to play, and do I think it's interesting because it's not so much black and white in terms of, oh, he should be a cornerback, he should be a wide receiver. I think he has the immense skill set and just the game changing ability on both ends. Probably more so on the defensive side. I'll give the slight nod, as opposed to as a wide receiver on the offensive end. But it doesn't matter. I mean, numbers are numbers. He's been shut down as a corner. He's been very prolific and dynamic and every bit game changer as a wide receiver. But I feel like at the end of the day, it's gonna end up being the call and it's gonna make the most sense. But it's also gonna be case dependent. So what I mean by that is if you go to, let's just say, and certainly they're not this high. Um, Actually, no. They kind of decide. I'm switching my teams. Let's say Jacksonville. Let's say Jacksonville um, ends up picking before New England be in position to take a Travis Hunter. You look at that roster and what they have currently, you know, on there, and what they would potentially be, bringing him on board to be. I think if you go to a team like Jacksonville, you probably need that shutdown, sort of talent on the defensive side of the ball because you're lacking that. You don't have that now. So I would have to say, hey, you're a heck of a cornerback, the nation's top cornerback. You pretty much, got all the accolades and then some in recent memory. And there's been some good ones, we continue to talk about in these last couple shows. But you're every bit as good, at that position on that end of the ball, as prolific and shutdown. They're doing it right now, and you're gonna come in and follow in their footsteps. I can see Jacksonville, for example, um, basically focusing on just him being corner and putting all of his focus on that side of the ball. But then again, if things stay the way they appear to be trending in New England's, maybe ahead of Jacksonville, and they end up, selecting his services,
All right.
I could see him, same thing, maybe not fully focusing, because they already have the Christian Gonzalez, same
Correct.
position he plays,
Correct.
and Jacksonville doesn't. So in this case, they need a wide receiver. But we're also seeing it a little bit with the current roster. They have, I don't know if you know, a cornerback by the name of Marcus Jones. Marcus Jones excels and is a little bit more, more of a natural and got that effect on the defensive side of the ball, playing the cornerback position. But, there are about a handful of plays that they have for him on the offensive side of the ball, and he's every bit, a factor when his number gets called, and they have these plans that, are designed for him. He can have an impact, as a wide receiver.
Right.
But really, the majority of his game, his effectiveness comes at cornerback. So I feel like if he goes to New England, he'll be a hell of a compliment to opposite of Gonzalez. But I see him playing, maybe not a full-time role at wide receiver, but definitely, he's going to have a percentage of plays that are going to, be scripted up for him, and for him to have a presence on 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 the wide receiver slash offensive side of things, because he's just that explosive, that dynamic. I don't see him being a full-time, sort of like, every down member of the wide receiving core.
Yeah.
I think he would go back and forth and play both. So
He's a little
it's going to be it's going to be team dependent. It's going to be case dependent.
he's a little frail also too. He's got to put on some pounds in the off season. Got to work out a little bit. Put on some meat in
Right.
those bones. NFL, different game. Those hits are serious for sure.
Right.
So we'll keep
And
an
they're
eye.
saying too, like it's easier to be given the hits as opposed to taking the
Taking the
hits.
hits.
So
Yeah.
so that's why I feel like a lot of these prospects and projections have him playing on that side of the ball. But again, with New England, they have virtually nothing at wide receiver, so you might want to play him on that side of the ball defensively, but you probably would be a little foolish to completely ignore the offensive side of the ball, knowing that there's a clear need there, and he has an absolute freakish ability to be effective on both sides of the ball. It just I don't think it can be full time. I mean, that's he's doing it and has been doing college level, and now you're gonna ramp up the competition another level at the highest level and be able to do both seamlessly. I mean, even Dion did it, but it wasn't full time,
Yeah.
way back when we were
Way
growing up
back
as
when.
kids.
Right.
So you look at Dion, he was as great of an athlete as arguably we'll ever see, playing the football game and professionally, and it's just not possible. It's not possible to be played, I think, at a full time. And if it
Right.
is going to be full time, you have to pick a direction. You have to pick a lane.
For sure. Real quick, so Stephen Belichick is set to join his dad, Bill Belichick, as North Carolina's defensive coordinator after Washington's bowl game. Surprised? You surprised Bill took that job real quick, Galen? The North Carolina job? Is that a big FU to the NFL?
Yeah, I am surprised because I actually thought it was going to be more of him just using UNC to find that next job
Yeah.
professionally in the NFL.
Mm-hmm.
But, I was wrong. And I guess he was serious about coaching. And I
Yeah.
think it's also very telling that he didn't really have a legitimate opportunity going into the off season because I mean, let's face it. I mean, guys who have the means, have the contacts, and certainly have the back channels like no other, whether he's an active coach like Bill Belichick or not, you best believe if he knew, which he's got to know right now, that he had like a pretty good in somewhere and a legit opportunity, then he would have held out for that. He wouldn't have just caved and settled for a UNC or just even a college job, um, in general. So I feel like the fact that we went from rumor mill and the wins and everything, the rumors were growing stronger and stronger by the day, by the week. But it was just like, yeah, I'll believe it when I see it,
Yep.
sort of thing, or at least with me that was. And lo and behold, it's just like, oh yeah, like things are really picking up and they're in the final stages. It's just a couple of things to kind of, just discuss and work out, iron out, and it looks like, he's gonna end up going to the Tar Heels, and it's just like, wait, like so we are really here, like this is really about to happen. So yeah, I doubted it all the way up until I was given reason not to doubt it anymore, but I was shocked. I was surprised, and
So are a lot of people.
yeah,
Very surprised, very shocked.
it's just too bad because I think if everything goes according to plan, 3-year contract. I mean, there's no coming back from this, unless he does get a legitimate, serious inquiry, and he is, now embraced and welcome back into the NFL. It would like be Bill Belichick spurring the UNC and go back to what he's always loved and known for being employed in the NFL and not at the college ranks, So I would indeed, at that point, fully expect for him to be out the door as quick as you or I can bat our next eyelash and spurn UNC. But if this does hold up, and now we're 3 years from now, there's no one that's gonna be like, all right, Bill, like you're done with that, like come back, get the record or whatever. Like, no, now at that time he definitively will be that much older, 3 years older, and it's just gonna be too long in the tooth
Too
from
little,
an
too
age
late.
standpoint.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just like, so maybe like he would have liked to get the record, but like I don't see it now. You know what I mean? So I think this is gonna be his last roots, as a coach or whatever. This is how we're gonna end up remembering him, like him just settling for a coaching position,
In the college ranks.
in college football. Like
Yeah.
I don't care if it's UNC, it could be Alabama. Like you're finishing your coaching tenure, it looks like once and for all in the college ranks. And no, it should have come in the NFL. It should have come in the NFL. I can't believe that there's been like next to nothing. I thought a year away from the game and all these like
A lot of openings
podcasts
in the off
and
season.
media and
Yeah.
stuff like
Yeah.
that, like being present in the media and hearing from him. I thought, in all honesty, I thought that would help him.
Yeah. Just
I
didn't
didn't think
happen.
that would just virtually not even move the needle. And
Yeah.
now here we are a year later. That's exactly what's happened. The needle didn't
It's crazy.
move.
It's crazy.
And am I surprised about his son?
Like
Leaving
father, like son,
Washington
huh?
to go there. No, because I mean, if you look at the contracts, that was actually one of the sticking points. Like, oh, when I finish out, I want him to, be next up for the head coach vacancy. So that was basically part of the plans in the agreement at with the final terms and stuff like that. So clearly, just like we saw for all those years here in New England, then the son gets away this last year, whatever, does his own thing. But yeah, here they are about to be back together again, like father, like son, just like they've been known for a lot of years now,
Yeah.
before this past year. So that doesn't surprise me. And he's clearly like wanting his son to finally get his due, whether it's college or pros. And that's what it's set up, and has been drawn up as part of the contract.
Yeah. That's pretty surreal, but that's where we're at with Bill and his son there going to North Carolina College football program next season. Before we get out of here today, rest in peace, Ricky Henderson, who recently passed away at a tender age of 65. What a legendary career! I mean, this guy was a all-time stolen base leader, all-time runs scored leader, first ballot Hall of Famer, two-time World Series champ, 1990 American League MVP, 10-time All-Star, and three-time Silver Slugger award as well too. Very sad to see one of my childhood heroes passing away. Galen, how would you remember Ricky Henderson?
I mean, yeah, I mean, you said it really well. I mean, what an exciting, what a dynamic, just an overall explosive athlete. Granted, it was baseball, the sport that he played, but when I think of Ricky Henderson, especially in his heyday, playing for as long as he did, and being so dynamic and so um, just freakish,
Yeah,
just anywhere on
he
the
was a
diamond.
beast.
I don't
He
care
was
if
a
he was
beast.
up at bat. Yeah, if he was up at bat or on the base pass, which is really like where he made his marks and stuff,
Yeah,
stealing bases, and gonna go down as the all-time stolen base leader, at least until further notice. Yeah, he was certainly, that was like his go-to bread and butter. You just always had to pay attention, or else like he was just gonna swipe bags right underneath your
yeah,
nose if you paid him no mind. And even if you
correct.
did pay him no mind, he just had the freakish speed where it's just like he was still gonna get his like
No matter what.
the majority of the time. But yeah, he was just he was exciting, man. He was electric, and he's gonna be missed, and it's gonna be hard to see that sort of that level of intensity, especially at baseball. Um, it was hard to see it back then, and I feel like where baseball has been going and where it continues to trend, even the greats of their generation now, of what's been Mike Trout's, before injuries started to set in, time now, China, burning sort of like fiery attitude. I mean, outside of Ronald Acuna for the Braves, I feel like there's not really many of that type of mindset. And again, even in Ricky's day, I feel like he was a very, very unique overall baseball player, where he was there wasn't too many people then that was able to bring each and every night to the diamond of just pure passion and fire and just intensity, like he was known for. So, I mean, rest in peace. I mean, big loss in the baseball world. And
Yeah,
another thing that I'll always never forget and I will miss, but I will say, obviously he was a leadoff hitter for much of his career. And has there ever been a leadoff hitter where it's just like oh, are we gonna end up seeing another leadoff home run to
Yeah,
kick off a game? Like
for
that's
sure.
the two things I'm gonna, continue to forever remember Ricky Henderson for being a dynamic and prolific, arguably the game's greatest stolen base, um, talent, and just for hitting a lot of in his fair share, to say the least, of leadoff home runs. I feel like those two dynamics on the baseball diamond, we might not ever see again.
Yeah, for
And
sure.
yeah, because there's been a lot of history in baseball, and that might be history that will just remain
Never be broken.
historic
Yeah.
and all time great. Yep. I
Rest
mean, what a
easy.
talent! What
Rest
a
easy,
talent!
Ricky.
And
Rest
you
easy.
look and you look at, yeah, and you look at all these people coming out and sharing their stories and stuff. I mean, just for as great of a player he was, um, he was no fluke. Off the field, he was every bit what you would hope and expect for him to be. Because you look at the stories that are out there. I mean, he was arguably even great of a guy off the field, and had a lot of love and support and respect from his peers, media. I mean, you name it. I mean, he was just a guy like no other.
Electric for sure. Before we get out of here today on today's show, on this Monday afternoon, December 23rd, Christmas Day games are almost here on Netflix. You have the Chiefs, Steelers. Let's go, Steelers. Texans, Ravens. Um, Hopefully, Tank Bell. Um, get well wishes to him. Dislocated kneecap versus the Chiefs a couple days ago. I'll probably go with the Ravens, and then you have some. You have the Bears and Seahawks on Thursday, and then you have NBA all day on Christmas Day, tradition, obviously. So, Galen, what a Christmas it's going to be. A lot of sports, a lot of sports, a lot of sports, a lot of sports, a lot of food, a lot of friends, a lot of family, a lot of drinking, a lot of socializing. It should be a very, very good Christmas Day on Wednesday, my friend.
Yeah, I would say so too. I'm looking forward to it. Normally, Christmas is, like we were talking before we hit the airwaves, for strictly basketball, but certainly they have quite the competition this year. And if I know Roger Goodell in the NFL, their usual, shenanigans, in this case for the better, huge marketing opportunity. And they're going out, and now they're going to look to throw their weight around and apply their will, of all days. So it's not just the NBA show anymore. Like I was telling you, like we were just saying, like, is it a good idea? Is that a little bit too much too soon? I mean, we just gonna end up, rounding game uh for a week with the Monday night slate tonight, and then literally before it officially kicks off week 16. So many might think that, like, okay, well, there's like, why bump it up a full, like, tomato when playing games on Thursday anyway. What's another 24 hours earlier? Well, that's because it's Christmas. They want in on Christmas. So what the NFL wants, the NFL is going to get. To me, I just, whether it's basketball, football, a little bit of both, that's fine. We're in the sports, world. We enjoy it as fans. Is what we like to on the side, talking about it, got a show. So to us, it's just, it feeds our soul. It gives us something to look forward
Some
to
material,
and
some
prepare
bulletin material. Yeah, for sure.
exactly, bulletin material content for the next show in the coming days. And yeah, I mean, it is what it is. But to me, I'm gonna get sick of the NFL. I know for some people it's like, all right, maybe a little bit too much, but to me, It's not like they're giving us like half the league or whatever um, on Christmas. It's just enough, it's just enough. So a couple games won't hurt nobody. Even if it's put on in the background as background noise. I know I'll at least be trying to watch it in between all the Christmas festivities and the dinner and all that stuff. But yeah, no, it's gonna be really exciting between football and definitely our fair share of basketball. So I'm looking forward to it. It should be, something refreshing because again, we haven't seen them tap into Christmas until now. And for all we know, maybe it will be like a genius move for the NFL. And, maybe stemming from this year, it will be the new norm of what to look forward to. And maybe a lot of fans abroad and spread across the country will really take a liking to it. So they're certainly moving into uncharted waters, but if I know the NFL, it will probably go off without a hitch, and it will be normal and as if like they've been doing it when really it was their first time. So I'm looking forward to it. Just enough games to satisfy the football soul, and also kind of really see how much that they can maybe potentially steal away and be like a serious direct competition to what has been forever the NBA. That's their time of the calendar year. That's their day to steal all the spotlight and the headlines. So I'm looking forward to it on that element, on that end of things for sure.
Absolutely. So before I get out of here today, just Merry Christmas, everybody, friends, family, coworkers, all those people out there. Happy holidays. Be safe. Don't drink and drive, and just enjoy your loved ones, man. Life's too short. So, Galen, Merry Christmas, my friend.
Yeah, same to you and your family, and yeah, everybody that's sitting in and just enjoying what we're doing, bringing to you guys. If you're still out there listening, thanks for everything. Guys, keep it safe. Happy holidays, and definitely enjoy. It's definitely a special time of year, and get ready to turn over to that next calendar year, 2025. So I'm sure we got a lot of good things continue to roll out and just continue to just put out there. And yeah, we're excited, and hopefully everybody else is. And yeah, definitely Merry Christmas to everyone out there. And again, more importantly, stay safe. Don't do anything stupid.
He's Galen. I'm Kenford. Merry Christmas, everybody. Hope you guys enjoyed our show today. We'll see you guys soon. And Galen, safe travels, buddy. Safe travels.
Appreciate it, my friend. Appreciate it. Thank you.